How you doing? This is Mick Tully for Roma TV, and I'm with the head of Bellator, Mr. Scott Coker. How you doing, Scott? Thank you for your time. So we're here for the Paul Daley and the Rory MacDonald huge fight, and then for the MVP and the Derek Anderson fight. Yeah. So we're just doing the press junket here. So can you just give us a little bit of an idea, because there was a bit of the card's been changed around a little bit, because first of all it wasn't going to be Paul Daley versus Rory, right?
No, that was always the plan.
Really?
Yeah. I think what happened was you saw these guys going at it on social networking, right?
Right.
And MVP wanted to fight Paul, but we had already planned this fight in the books. So this was the fight that we were going to deliver originally, and so the other fight was just something personal between these two guys.
Right.
So as we move forward, could that fight happen in the future?
But
sure. But the fight May 19th, for our Bellator tentpole event is going to be, was always planned to be Rory MacDonald fighting Paul Daley.
But Rory MacDonald, that's a huge coup for you guys, because that's a really active, huge name in MMA.
Yes.
And he's coming at 27 years of age. This is his peak.
Yes, and that's why he and Paul fighting right now makes so much sense. I mean, this is gonna be one of the greatest fights this year.
Yeah.
And to me, when you look at the free agents that we acquired last year, Benson Henderson, Rory MacDonald, Chael Sonnen, Fedor Emelianenko, Wanderlei Silva. I mean, some pretty good names.
There's some big names there.
And we're going to go after more this year.
As a fan, just speaking from a fan's point of view, I'm watching. There is like a shift now in the landscape of MMA. I don't know if it's the Reebok deal, which has upset a hell of a lot of fighters, right?
Yeah.
There's that, and then there's also some of the matchups. That's one thing you got to give Bellator. You do put on. We talked before about you put on fun fights, but you put on some huge, ding dongs, classics.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to be afraid to put on more fun fights,
Yeah.
And why not? And to me, we'll put on the hardcore fights that the hardcore fans want to see, like this fight with Paul and Rory. This is like a hardcore fight fan's dream.
Yeah, this is a future classic, right?
Yeah, and so we're going to do these fights, and when Pitbull fights Strauss, you're going to see that hardcore.
Yeah.
Just that young, alpha male versus alpha male fight, right?
Exactly.
And then then you'll see Chael Sonnen fight Tito Ortiz, that did 2.2 million views in America. I mean, why not? I mean, to me, these guys are stars in our sports still, and people want to see them.
People still want to see
them, And there's so many fighters in MMA now, but you could probably name the top guys on two hands.
Yeah,
top guys.
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking. Where Bellator are really starting to corner it is the fact that you do look after, it's not disrespect to the UFC, it's just an observation that if there's that many guys who are disgruntled, then there's something going on there, right?
Well, I don't want to speak to, their business practices or, their business, because that has nothing to do with me. Really, when I wake up every day, I'm so busy focusing on 27 fights that we're going to do this year.
Wow.
That's the only thing I have time for. But I will say we've always treated the fighters with respect, and I've always treated the fighters almost like a family a little bit, because that's how I was raised, and I mean in a sense that this is a martial arts company,
Yeah.
And these are I'm a fan of Rory, I'm a fan of Paul, I'm a fan of Fedor, I'm a fan of Bam Mitchell, and I get to sit there in the best seat in the house and watch all these things unfold. I mean, I got probably. To me, I got the greatest job on the planet, and I've always loved it, and it's been part of my martial arts journey was to, commit time and to help keep MMA or the fight industry healthy and go out there. And I think that when Bellator came in, especially with Viacom backing it, it's like, there's no free agent that's not going to be open to us. Any free agent that's out there, come talk to us, because we will be able to work something out if you're a free agent.
Well, UFC's big, but Viacom is huge.
Massive, yeah.
Well, that's global stuff, right?
Yeah, because they own. Kevin K said to me, Kevin K's a president of Spike, and now he's running 3 different channels in Viacom. But he said to me, Scott, you will never have to look for a TV deal. if you come on board with us.
That's
and,
awesome.
and what he meant by that was like, look, all these other leagues, at some point they're going to their deal will run out. Then they'll have to negotiate with the network. Maybe they'll come to a deal, maybe they won't. But you know what? Bellator will never have to look for a TV deal.
That's awesome. And you mentioned earlier, because we talked about this the last time I interviewed you, and it was one of the things that really impressed me, because you are a legitimate martial artist. You mentioned, and I've got to get you to say this because I loved it, when you sold Strikeforce, you took a bit of time off and you just devoted yourself to training, right?
Yeah, I was much lighter and much better shape those 3 years, because the Strikeforce was like my baby, right? And I had partners, and it was complicated, so we sold it, and that part of my life is past. But I said, okay, what am I going to do now? And I said, I'm going to start training. The first call the next day, honestly, I called my instructor anyway, as senior, and I went back to school and I started going in and training and got in good shape and took my next test for my next exam. And I became a student of martial arts for the next 3 years. And then I got the call from Kevin, and now I'm back doing, the promotion business. Hopefully I can do both. It's just hard for me because I'm so wired. Like, when I see what needs to be done here, I'm just focused. When I wake up every day, I focus on one thing. That's honestly one thing, and that's driving this company forward,
right,
and pushing forward, and making it all happen. And when you're training for martial arts and you're training for your next test, that takes the same type of dedication. So I've been really torn about, I got to have a little bit more balance in my life.
You can't have two wives unless you're Amish, right? That's how it works.